Greetings everyone and welcome to Astronarch, a new first taste for the channel. Now this game completely caught me off guard. Released on the 22nd of January 2021, developed and published by a single person, Dale Turner. I picked this up after a recommendation from one of my friends and thought, oh, I'll just check it out for a little bit and then maybe do a video on it. And then about a day later I realized I was still playing. Yeah, it really caught me off guard. Welcome to Astronarch, everyone. It is a roguelike and kind of auto-battler with a bit of inspiration from games like Slay the Spire. Now, if you're not familiar with auto-battler, sort of think along the lines of you make the big strategic decisions, but the minutiae and the kind of tactical decisions, they're played out automatically. There are a decent amount of auto-battlers on the market right now, but I actually tend to find them incredibly cathartic to play, because you're not bogged down with the moment-to-moment decision-making. You just kind of make the big important decisions and then just see how that goes. Now, a consequence of playing it for a lot more than I realized initially is I've unlocked all of the characters. Usually you only have a subset of these characters, and there are certain in-game conditions that you need to do, like sell a certain amount of things to a shop, defeat a boss with only one person left standing in the encounter, so on and so forth, to unlock them. But on the plus side, it does mean that we have the full cast as it stands to choose from for this first taste. The developer is constantly adding new content to the game, new characters, new items, tweaking balance, so on and so forth. So this will almost certainly continue to expand. But let's have a quick look. What makes up our team? Well, at the beginning we start with 3 heroes, and every time we complete an act, that is, we make our way through a full kind of gauntlet of battles and defeat a boss, we can add a new person to the team, up to 5 before we encounter the final boss, hopefully. Now, each character has a passive and an active ability. Obviously, your passive is always active, hence the name, but sometimes these can affect things. For example, the Berserker here, the passive is the Berserker's attacks and active ability strikes heal for 2% max HP and increase the attack value by 1. Now, unless something states that it permanently increases it by 1, it only does it for that combat. But that's actually a pretty nice ability. Now, these abilities themselves can be further enhanced and upgraded throughout your run, and items can augment them or just give you entirely new abilities. And of the characters we have, you know what? We are going to bring the Berserker on along. I like the Berserker because the longer the Berserker survives in a fight, the more dangerous it becomes. And that healing ability does mean they tend to survive quite well. Now, I am big on having healing in my groups, and whilst there is a cleric and a few other characters that can heal, a blood mage, for example, the bard is honestly on the OP side of being able to heal. Now, the bard doesn't do it passively. Instead of dealing damage, the passive ability of the bard is that their attacks apply a bleed over 10 seconds to their target. But the battle ballad, if the bard is in the front row, so for example, this is the front row and this is the back row, then when it uses its active ability, all of the heroes in the encounter gain 6 attack. But if it's in the back row, heals all of the heroes in the encounter for 10% of their maximum HP over 10 seconds. The cleric, on the other hand, their heal is single targeted and will target the weakest of the heroes, but it will only heal adjacent. Now, adjacency are these groupings, so 4 and 4. So the bard, for example, would still heal the Berserker down here, whereas the cleric would not. So I actually quite like the bard, and they have a very similar healing capabilities initially. Now, for our other slots, we've got a couple of options. A Ronin is actually quite nice. Does attacks that have a chance to disarm the opponents, which makes it take them longer to attack. We could have a Blood Mage, whose passive means that they're constantly taking damage, but then their active ability will tend to heal them up. As long as you can keep them healed, they can actually be quite a potent enemy. The Fiend, when you're knocked out, you do not lose morale. The system for this is that your party has a set amount of morale. Winning fights without losing anybody increases your morale. Every time someone gets knocked out in a fight, you lose 1 morale. Unless it's against a boss, in which case you lose all morale if everyone is knocked out. Normally, if everyone gets KO'd in a fight, the enemy just runs off and you get back up and dust yourself off and carry on. But morale is basically your doom clock, if you like. But the Fiend doesn't lose morale when they go down and just resurrect themselves later on, which is rather potent, I must say. But I think we're going to go with... I think we might bring out the Paladin. Paladin has a nice shielded, shield active defense, so it spreads the shield to everyone, and its defense characteristic is reasonably high. They're a decent character to roll with, I think. So let's take this group out and see what we can do out on the road. All right, the Oracle. Greetings, heroes. Do you know why you're here? This is the day of the Astronarch, after all. The Astronarch? Centuries ago, it was foretold that an evil would enter the realm, and a group of hidden guardians would surface to defeat it. The guardians were said to be born of the sky, and thus became known as the Astronarch. Oh, very well. Who are you? A friend. I sensed the day of the Astronarch was upon us, and travelled here to guide you. There is more to discuss, but time is fleeting. Oh, very well. Let's get on with that then, I suppose. The capital will be targeted. We will meet at the city gate. Before you go, I shall provide a blessing. We can take Temperance. All heroes increase their max HP by 10%. The Emperor. All heroes increase their defense by 15% at all times. Ace of Swords. All heroes increase their attack by 10%. And the Magician. All heroes reduce the cost of their active abilities by 15%. I think we're going to go with the active abilities because I want my bard to be able to heal as often as they possibly can. Right, now... this is where it starts to feel a little bit more like Slay the Spire to a certain extent. But each of these courses has a different kind of enemy table that your encounters might be selected from. So the ruins, the barbaric reptiles and constructs of the ruins are known to ward off intruders with their stalwart defenses and ability to use a target's own mana against them. The forest. The many creatures of the forest have grown accustomed to heavily armored travelers, bypassing their defenses and slowing any attempts to heal their wounds. And the caves. The caves are home to creatures who seek those strongest in health and speed, and have evolved over time to combat such targets. I think we're going to go with the ruins. Ultimately, these are elite battles, and you can get some much better loot from those, and these are shops, as you might imagine. We've got gold, so on and so forth. Very, very similar concepts to Slay the Spire. We're going to at least want to be here or here at this point, so we can move down, because from each zone, you could only touch near zones. For example, if we started here, I wouldn't be able to select to have a normal battle in the caves as a result. I could move down to the forest or continue along the ruins, so on and so forth. But I think we're going to start in the ruins, sure. Now, before the battle begins, we can move our characters around, and this is really where the strategic decision-making comes from. Roaming Sentinel. It has a passive recycle. You gain 10% of the mana expended by enemies, gain 1 negate, passive ability. The negate prevent the next negative effect you receive, and Apprehension Protocol is its active ability. Deal 150% attack damage, or 345 based on its current attack of 230, to your target and stun them for 2 seconds. That is the active ability. Now, everyone has an attack. For example, the Bard will attack once every 1.6 seconds. And its attack value is 25. Its defense value is 25. MP is the amount of mana you need to use your active ability. It's a little bit unintuitive the way that that's kind of expressed, but you gain MP at a set rate unless you've got items or abilities which increase or decrease the rate at which you generate mana. But each hero's mana points is how much mana is needed to use their ability. So, for example, for the Paladin to use the Aegis ability, needs to expend 78 mana points. But there isn't a lot that we need to do here. We can see that you're going to be attacking the Paladin. I could have you... well, actually, no. We'll go with that. The Paladin seems like a pretty solid person to attack. The yellow bar is the actual physical attack. The blue bar is the mana increasing. We're about to lose the Paladin. That's a shame. The Paladin did get off their ability, though, and managed to apply Aegis, but did go down. So as a consequence, we lose 1 morale this battle. Had the Paladin not gone down, we would have gained 3 morale, which would have been important. Let's have a look. Crag Cleaver. Your attacks reduce your target's defense by 2. You'll always get a little bit of gold. You'll get a health pot, and you'll get some items. Now, if you have a full wipe, you will still get an item choice in the select reward, but you will lose some of the options. So you can always choose gold, but you'll only get a choice between gold and a single item out of the 3. The other 2 will be grayed out and you won't be able to select them. So you can miss out on some really important choices there. A lot of this game is what you can equip yourself with as you progress. Bound elements. Every 3 times you attack, apply frost and a burn for 75% attack damage over 10 seconds. Or just straight apply a 20 damage burn. It's not affected by your own attack value. And Crag Cleaver, your attacks reduce your target's defense by 2. I mean, that wouldn't be a bad one. I mean, the Paladin's basic attacks burn targets and any adjacent enemies for 40%. Let's double down on that. Let's add in Searing Edge. And we're going to continue on to have another battle. We've now got a health potion. All heroes heal for 400 HP over 10 seconds. Now, this one is something we activate. It's one of the very few ways that we can involve ourselves in a battle. Hopefully, we won't need to too often. Now, we've got reduced defenses. Their attacks are reducing our defenses constantly. I may use this in a moment, but no, we managed to get through. Excellent. 3 morale, 15 gold, and we can pick a new weapon. Now, this would allow me to steal 1 MP from attackers. So every time someone attacks, we would gain 1 MP, which for the Paladin might actually work out quite nicely. Fenrir's Blade, plus 10 attack. At the start of combat, deal 50% attack damage to all enemies and apply 2 frost. Frost might be a useful one. In fact, let me just go into the settings because I realize it may actually be very useful to have that little extra bit of info there. Frost, reduce speed by 2% and increases active ability cost by 2. Stacks up to 10 times. So that would make that would reduce how quickly an enemy would be able to just use its passive ability, its auto attack, and also make their increase the mana cost of their active ability, which is quite a nice one. But I'm really tempted to grab this one for the extra defense as well, because that will also buff Aegis, which will give us a little bit extra shield when it procs. Right, let's go for the normal battle in the forest. We'll change the background there. Alright, a feral beast. Your attacks apply ruin to your target and apply a poison for 10% attack damage every 3 seconds. Increase your speed by 20% is the active ability. Okay, that's it's got a very slow speed. It attacks every 2.3 seconds, but as it uses Go Rabid, that's going to get worse and worse and worse for us. Ruin. Healing effects received are reduced by 60% for 10 seconds, and poison deals damage every 3 seconds. So in this case, 12 damage every 3 seconds. It ignores defense and it ignores shields, and it will never run out. More poison can just be added and added and added, and eventually you'll be taking dozens of dots of 12 damage every 3 seconds. So that can actually ramp up really nastily, really quickly. But let's see how this goes. We are going to be attacking a lot faster early on. Attacks increased by 2, and that's going to keep going up every time we hit. His attack is getting better. I am going to be ready with the heal. Yeah, let's go for that. Ooh. Oh, that was very nearly a loss there, but we got an extra 3 morale. Now, this item here, you'll notice the items themselves have a different colored background. Orange are ancient items and are always some of the best that you can get. These items themselves can also be upgraded as we progress through the game. Helm of the Mad King. Attackers increase your attack by 4 and speed by 4. Giving this to the person who's going to be taking the most attacks is a solid idea. Now, we have an event over here. This can sometimes be a combat, or it can be, well, an event, which could end up being all sorts of things, from a surprise merchant to some sort of choice that we need to make. It'll be a ruins event. Sure, let's go up and investigate this. Depending on where the event happens, you can get a different set of events sometimes. The Altar of Shadows. The heroes discover an ancient and ominous altar with an odd energy in the air. There is an orb sitting atop the altar. The inscription reads, "Power is given as easy as it is taken, in turn." Solzak, Grand Wraith. We can take the orb. It's an ability orb. All heroes will lose 4 attack permanently, or destroy it. A random ability is upgraded, but we'll lose 10 morale. That is a very high price to pay. Or we can just run away and we'll gain 5% extra speed next combat. Losing 4 attack permanently is kind of a big deal, honestly. The Bard, it doesn't matter as much because honestly the Bard is mostly my healer. The Paladin, again, it doesn't really matter that much because the Paladin will increase their attack. In fact, the first time they get hit, they will have recovered. And the Berserker will just have to hit 4 times to have recovered. So actually we're going to take the orb. Sure. The odd energy in the air clings to the heroes as they leave. Now we've picked up our first ability orb, a sturdy ability orb. Drop on a hero to improve their passive ability. Now with this dragged around, we can actually see what it's going to do here. So power chords, for example, instead of dealing damage, your attacks apply a bleed for 150% attack damage over 10 seconds. Or with the Berserker, your attacks and active ability strikes heal you for 4% max HP and increase your attack by 2. Or with the Paladin, your attacks burn your target and any adjacent enemies for 80% of your attack damage. We're going to go with the Berserker because now it'll only take 2 turns to negate the loss of that attack, and then it'll be pure profit from that point on. We're going to switch down into the forest for now. Okay, now this enemy's in the back row. We have to go through the front row to get to the back, though some items and indeed some heroes fight a bit differently. Now they're both going to go for the Paladin, and since they're in the same row, there's not much we can do about that. If they were side by side, one would probably go for the Berserker first. Now a Vineland, your attacks reduce your target's speed by 3% and apply Ruin. It's always nasty to get Ruin. Your Lash deals 50% attack damage and apply a bleed for 50% attack damage over 10 seconds to your target and any adjacent enemies, so everyone in that group. The Ent heals allies for 1% of their maximum HP per second. And Forest Protection, allies gain a shield equal to 10% of their maximum HP. So the Ent, well, it does have an attack, but it only attacks every 3.2 seconds. They're mostly not going to be a threat to us, realistically speaking. But this was going to be a bit of a nasty one. I suspect the Paladin is going to go down. But the Paladin is already starting to get increased speed and attack as a result of the helm, but they are hurting. Unless we can get another heal, no. Sad, but there we go. However, we've managed to get rid of the Vineland, and that was really the main threat to us. There we go. We will still lose 1 morale, but we'll get a health potion. That's actually quite nice. And a new couple of items here. Now, this one is very nice. Champion's Guard. Your attacks increase your defense by 2. Obviously, on someone whose active ability runs off their defense, this is a good move for the Paladin. The Witch Stick, plus 10 starting mana and extra 5 attack. Your attacks steal 1 MP from your target. That one... Ooh. That may be very nice on our Bard. Or anyone with a fast attack, honestly. Ooh, that's a tricky one for us. If we had the Champion's Guard, it would take 5 attacks before the Robes of Absorption were equaled. And then we would start getting better. I think we're going to go with the Witch Stick. And we're going to pop it on the Bard so the Bard can gain powers enough to, or rather gain mana a little bit faster. Every 1.6 seconds they'll attack, they'll steal 1 mana, and perhaps we'll make this a high priority item to upgrade as we get the means to. Okay, now you'll see this one is attacking the Berserker. This is a Noxious Gnat. Your attacks reduce your target's attack by 2 for 10 seconds and apply Ruin. So it does that every 1 second. And a Spore Spewer. Instead of dealing damage, your attacks apply a poison for 100% attack damage every 3 seconds to your target and any adjacent enemies. Passive ability. Apply a negate to all enemies and active... negate to all enemies is an active ability. Negate prevents a negative effect from it being applied. If applied to an enemy, prevents a positive effect. Ooh, that's kind of a bit nasty, but I guess we're going to see how this one plays out. Right, you're starting to gather a little bit of extra mana. There we go. Got a bit of healing on the go. And hopefully that gnat is going to be gone in a moment. It is already gone, but the Berserker, unfortunately, was already pretty badly wounded at that point, so wasn't really able to get through it. And my healing isn't kicking in because of all of the negate. That was a bit of a shame. But on the plus side, you do get to see how this pans out now. So we've got Soul Slicer we can't get, Hero's Sigil we can't get, but we do have the Sleet Stone Saber. Your attacks have a 50% chance to both apply Frost and deal 3 piercing damage for each stack of Frost on your target. Frost reduces speed by 2% and increases active ability cost by 2, and it can stack up to 10 times, so we will definitely take that. We could pop into the shop, but I prefer to go to the shop when I've got over 100 gold, and I'll show why in a little bit. But we're going to drop down into the caves now for an event before we take on an elite. I more or less always go for the elite. Okay, the heroes discovered an ancient and ominous altar. The inscription reads, to obtain anything of value equal must always be lost. Trev, Exalted Sage. Duplicate the Searing Edge or duplicate the Witch Stick, but I'd lose the Robes of Absorption. Well, I don't care to get another one of these in exchange for this, my lord. If that was on offer for duplication, I probably would get rid of whatever I had to get rid of in order to get it. But we're going to duplicate the Witch Stick and lose the Robes of Absorption, I think. Now, they're unique, so you can only have one of these equipped, so it's not like I can give 2 to the Bard, but I don't know. Having it on the Paladin might not actually be that useful. No, I think we're going to leave. I don't see a clear benefit to that for us. Okay, the Cave Crawler. Now, this is a boss. It is a resistance to stun, disarm, and silence. If it is stunned, disarmed, or silenced for a total of 4 seconds, that is one of them. A specific, so it could be all of them have been on it for 3 seconds, wouldn't matter. But the moment stun by itself has been active for 4 seconds, it becomes immune to all 3 status effects, or disarm for a total of 4 seconds, so on and so forth. Its passive ability is Hardened Carapace, gains 150 frail defense, attackers take 10 piercing damage when they attack it. Frail, attackers reduce the value of the effect by 5. Multiple frail effects are all reduced when attacked, so every time we attack it, it loses 5 of its frail defense. And then Caustic Web. Poison. Poison your targets and an adjacent enemy for 50% attack damage every 3 seconds. Reduce the speed of enemies hit by 30% for 5 seconds. That's a bit nasty, but there's not a lot we can do here. I'll keep my eyes on the potion. We may need this one. Now, every time it hits our Paladin gets a little bit stronger. Paladin's shield just kicked in, which was very nice. And we've also got the heals coming from the Bard. I'm going to go ahead. Drat, I was a moment too late. That is a shame. So we are now down 1 morale no matter what. If I'd just been a second earlier, we'd have been okay. Oh well. But we now have an ability orb, but drop this on a hero to improve their active ability. And of course, the Bard's active ability is the heal. If in the front row, increase the attack of all heroes to 12 instead of 6, or rather by 12. But if in the back row, heal all heroes for 20% of their max HP over 10 seconds. Yes, indeed, please. Now we've got Defense Gauntlet. When losing 20% of your max HP to a single hit, gain a shield equal to 5% of your max HP and deal 30 piercing damage to all enemies. Piercing ignores defense. It does not, however, ignore shields. We've also got Bound Element. Every 3 times you attack, apply Frost and a Burn for 75% attack damage, or alternatively we can go with Cobra's Reach. Your attacks poison your target, dealing 5 damage every 3 seconds. Now again, you can just keep adding these on there. You can just keep adding and adding and adding and adding, and eventually gets quite crazy. I actually think though we're going to go with extra defense, and I'm going to slide this Burn over there, and we've effectively created a dual element weapon. But we did get a chunk of gold because we ultimately defeated the enemy, even though we lost a bunch of morale. Now that is getting risky with only 10 morale. Now here, I've never seen an item for sale for more than 100, and also upgrades cost 100, which is why I tend to only visit the merchant if I've got money in the multiples of hundreds. Now, Necrophage, this is an interesting one. Your attacks apply leech to your target. You can only equip one of these items, but that's fine. You could... That unique is per character, so you could have everyone with this particular weapon if you wanted to. Leech. Attackers are healed for 10% of the attack and active ability damage they do. They deal to you. So, for example, if we apply leech to an enemy and then someone attacks it, they will leech 10% of the damage they did as health. And this can stack up to 5 times. That is absolutely gorgeous. Let's go ahead and pop that right there. I think that was well worth it. We could have upgraded something, and I was tempted, but that is such a nice weapon to have. There's a couple of others in here. The Lover's Safeguard is sometimes a nice one, but that's for later game. Early game, you tend to have your heroes grouped, and this only really helps if one hero is on their own, or at most in their group, there's only one other person. So I tend to avoid that one. Early game. Later on, when you've got 5 people, someone is going to be on their own. And then it actually starts to become quite useful. Alright, Altar of Altruism. The heroes discover an ancient and ominous altar. The inscription reads, "He who has no charity deserves no mercy. Sal, Holy Mother." There is a pile of gold in the offering bowl. Pray, all heroes gain 50 HP permanently. Offer, 5 gold for 5 morale. Or steal 50 gold, but then lose 15 max HP permanently. No, if you just walk away, you lose 2 morale. It is always worth getting some extra morale, because there are very few ways. Later on, unless you've got a very strong group, you might struggle to replenish lost morale, so it's always worth grabbing it when you can. I tend to try and keep about 50 gold with me at all times, but that really was too good to pass up. Simply because, as far as the events have gone, I've never seen one that needs more than 50 gold. Right, this one is a bit of an issue. There are 3 enemies. Okay, let's have a look. Gain 250 shield. This is fast charge. Instead of dealing damage, attack steal 5 magic from all enemies. And it attacks every 1.6 seconds. You gain, I believe, 1 MP every 1/10 of a second. So that's not terrible, but it can ramp up, especially since there's 2 of them. Thankfully, they'll be attacking different people, so it won't be as bad. But I-Beam, their ability deals 100% attack damage to all enemies and burns them for 200% attack damage over 10 seconds. That's a bit nasty. And Stonework Gargoyle, gain 50 frail attack, defense, and speed, so we need to hit you multiple times to pull all of that down if we can. And its Cursed Gaze, deal 25% piercing attack damage to all enemies. That ignores defense, does not ignore shield. Stun enemies in the front row for 3 seconds. Silence enemies in the back row. That's a bit nasty, but I guess there's not a lot we can do. At least these 2 are splitting their damage between the Paladin and the Berserker. But that is really ramping up. That burn is nasty. We've managed to get through the heavy hitter. Oh, damn it. We did lose our bard early. That was a shame. There was a possibility we might have gone out of that one, but when it came down to it, instead we just lost the 3 morale. Your attacks deal additional damage equal to 3% of your current HP to your target. Well, considering that our bard doesn't usually lose health at the back, or at least not early, that's not a bad one to give to a back row combatant. Ancient Defender. Fracture. Once defeated, a roaming sentinel appears. Gain 2 negate. So it'll start with negate. So the first 2 negative effects like bleed or poison or burn will be negated. Fortification Protocol. Deal piercing damage to all enemies equal to your defense. Gain 10 defense. So each time it uses its active ability, it's going to do more and more and more damage. But this one doesn't look like a particularly nasty one. We've already worked our way through the defense there, and as you can see, we're all healing now because there are stacks of leech. There are already 5 stacks of leech on our enemy, so everyone is capable of healing a fair old bit there. There we are. And the heals coming from our bard are especially nice as well. Okay, that was glorious. Now, once again, I would like to give this to you so that your attack will continue to grow even faster. Now, let's have a look at the items we've got. We've got Robes of Absorption again. The Serrated Ripper. Your attacks cause your target to bleed for 30% additional attack damage. Or Enchanter's Tome. Plus 20 starting mana and gain immunity to silence. That would actually be quite nice for our healer. Don't like having our healer silenced. And that extra MP at the beginning means that we're going to be able to pull off a heal that much sooner. Now then, the Forest Guardian. Attackers gain 5 magic power and grant you 10 magic power. Rather mana points. So when we attack it, we get 5 MP, but it gets 10. So it's going to rapidly move towards its active ability, which takes a long time. It needs 120 mana to pull it off. Heal for 40% of any enemy healing effect. Our build is quite healing effect heavy, so it's going to be an interesting one. Guardian's Roar. Deal 50% attack damage and 50% piercing damage to all enemies. Active ability. Honestly, this Forest Guardian probably isn't going to be too much of an issue for us. It has a lot of health, but realistically, I think we're going to be able to dig through quite fast. And look at the healing, though, that it's getting. It is kind of avoiding a lot of the damage that we're doing, which is a bit of a shame. But remember, healing, you don't overheal. If you're at full health, no healing is applied to you. Even if the healing effect is there, it's just not doing anything because it doesn't need to. All right, now we've got a new ability orb. Is there anyone we really want to give this to, though? I mean, the burn is actually quite nice, but for now, we're just going to keep hold of that and let that sit there. We've got the Primal Thirster. When your target is defeated, gain 10 attack and 10% speed for 5 seconds. It's only useful in big fights where there's lots of enemies, and you're not always going to have those. The Cosmos Mantle, plus 35 starting MP, plus 5 defense. I mean, that's nice, but it's not super nice. It's only really going to help in the beginning. The 5 defense is nice. Tundra Talisman. Gives a bit of starting MP, but applies frost to all enemies every 3 seconds. Just passively builds frost on everyone, not just our current target. That is definitely better than the Giant's Club, so we're going to swap that one out. It doesn't give any like immediate combat buffs, so it's better on our support. We may use the Sturdy Ability Orb on one of them, but you don't always have to. Sometimes if you don't have an immediate use, like it isn't a skill you're really trying to build. Like right now, I'm really not building my Bard for attacks, so buffing power chords doesn't seem useful to me. The only one that really seems useful is possibly the Paladin's ability, because it hits adjacent enemies as well. We might go for that one. But the Paladin I'm more or less building to be a tank. I just want him to absorb damage rather than necessarily deal it. Our Berserker is the damage dealer, and we've already buffed. You can't buff any further than 2 levels. The Forgotten Crypt. The heroes discover an entrance to a crypt. There is a single burial chamber, with the usual warning regarding curses and such. There is some gold and a vial in the offering bowl. We can loot the corpse, gain an ancient item. We'll lose 6 morale for it, though. We can loot the offering, gain 15 gold and a potion, lose 4 morale. Or leave and gain 3 morale. Always choose the morale. The heroes leave the dead to slumber. They can feel their spirits rising the further they travel from the crypt. Hooray. Hooray to us. We did the right thing. And we're not punished as a consequence. And now we fight the boss of this area. Okay, the Time-Worn Golem. Now, one of the things that I haven't actually covered is that the boss is always the same for each act, for each branch. So in this particular, because the path is procedurally generated, the boss was always going to be the Time-Worn Golem because it was in the ruins. Were it in the forest, it would be something else. Were it in the cave, it would be something else. Like I believe it was a deep dweller in the cave and some sort of ent-like creature in the forest. And this is true of all acts. There are specific bosses, and you will always fight the same one in the same act and same branch, but it'll just be moving around. There's only ever one boss. So as far as the Time-Worn Golem goes, gain 3 negate. Enemy active abilities cost an additional 50% MP. Wow, okay. Your active ability toggles this effect to reduce speed by 50% instead. So every time it uses Elimination Protocol, it'll toggle between making our active abilities cost more or making us half as fast with our attacks. Elimination Protocol itself deals 150% attack damage, which is 450 damage, by the way, to your target and stun all enemies for 2 seconds. That's kind of nasty, but let's just hope that we can manage this. I don't think we're going to have to worry too much about speed, because every time it smacks the Paladin gets a lot faster with each blow. But oof, that hurt, and everyone was made slow. Thankfully, Paladin pulled off his shield, and hopefully let's get another heal going. There we go. The Paladin is healing, but oof, that was close. I don't know if the... yeah, sadly, Paladin, that was just way overwhelming there. That was quite the shame. On the plus side, though, the amount of heals coming our way for the Berserker was keeping him up. Oof, that was a nasty one, though. We definitely want the Mighty Orb, though. The Might Ability Orb, sorry, on the Bard. Up to 30% of their max HP over 10 seconds. That is actually a pretty big one. We'll also get Holy Water. It's gold stash for 40 gold. Now, the amount of gold offered is dependent on the best item in the select rewards. Generally, though, I'll always pick up the item, and then I'll sell it later if I need it. The only times I'll go for gold is if I'm really low on gold and I'm worried that I'm going to face a lot of events moving forward. Right, the Life-Giving Chamber. At the start of combat, take piercing damage equal to 50% of your max HP, and all other heroes gain max HP equal to 25% of the initial damage, and begin healing for the same amount over 10 seconds. So this, on someone with a lot of max HP, would be fantastic, because it would give everyone else more max MP as well. Shard of the Deep. At the start of combat, gain 15 frail attack and 15% frail speed, but every time you get hit, that benefit is going to go down a bit. And finally, the Esoteric Keystone. You gain 25% of the mana used by enemies. That one is particularly nice. We are absolutely taking the Esoteric Keystone. Later on, hopefully, we will upgrade it a little bit. Now then, as we've completed Act 1, we can select a new adventurer. Choices. We've got quite a few here, actually. We've already got a healer. We could pick up a couple of other... someone else with a healing effect, if we particularly wanted to. For example, the Blood Mage is a solid choice. Lose 5% of your current HP every 2 seconds and heal the weakest adjacent hero for the amount lost. If you are the weakest, damage your target for the amount lost. But Mirror Pain. Deal 150% attack damage and 20% of the damage you have sustained this combat to your target, and then heal for the damage dealt. Resets the damage taken. Another one, and I actually quite like the Illusionist. First and foremost, its ability is more suited to someone who's going to be attacked. When attacked, you have a 12% chance to teleport to a nearby location and create a duplicate with 100% of your attack and 25% of your max HP to take the hit for you. The duplicate does not attack and deals 200% attack damage to the attacker when destroyed. Or Mirror Image. Create a duplicate for the rest of combat with 30% of your max HP, 30% of your max HP, attack, and defense. Your duplicates do not have items or abilities, but I believe the duplicates do attack, the ones that you create using Mirror Image. So it's a kind of a force multiplier. In a long battle, the Illusionist will fill out an entire area with copies. We could go with one of the mages. We could go with a ranger. Target the back row first at the start of combat. Summon an animal companion with 30% of your attack and 50% of your defense. A different companion is summoned depending on if your attack or your defense is higher. And these are the stats of the two companions. Shiva is summoned if your attack is higher, and Dragos is summoned if your defense is higher. But I'm thinking we could go with Gladiator. Gladiator's passive is really nice. It gives it a lot of maximum hit points. You can go for Cleric for single heals. You can go for an Alchemist for a little bit of wild card. Your attacks poison the enemy for 8% attack damage and every 3 seconds, and grant a minor blessing to a random hero. So every time the alchemist attacks, one of your heroes will get a small blessing. So it's either a small increase to attack, defense, or speed, or a heal over time effect. That can actually ramp up. If you can make the alchemist attack frequently, if you can really pull their attack speed down, they can make everyone else stupidly powerful. It gets a little bit out of hand, actually, which is glorious and wonderful in many ways. Alternatively, we could go with the Ronin. Your attacks have a 10% chance to apply a bleed for 200% attack damage for 10 seconds and disarm your target. Disarms makes the enemy attack bar drain for 3 seconds instead of rising. So it makes it it can actually stop in a single opponent battle. That ability can more or less stop them from attacking. Rising Gale, deal 150% attack damage to your target and any adjacent enemies. Deal an additional 150% attack damage for each time this ability has hit that enemy, up to 2 times. That's an interesting one for certain. And then you've got the Assassin. Gain Hidden. Your attacks poison your target, dealing 10% attack damage every 3 seconds. You target the back row first while in the front row. That's your passive ability. And Garrote. Deal 150% attack damage and silence your target. If your target is defeated while silenced from this ability, gain 40 mana points. Lots of good choices. But I think ultimately we're going to go with the Alchemist. We're going to throw caution to the wind and just see what luck how luck will favor us. And we're going to drop both of these ability orbs onto the Alchemist, because their passive is something I would like to play with. So here we go. Your attacks poison 2 random enemies for 8% attack damage, and grant a minor blessing to 2 random heroes, or all the way up there to 3 random heroes and 3 random enemies. I like it a lot. That is actually going to be really good. Heroes, I'm glad you made it. The town stirs. It is upon us. What is? I know it to be a great evil, doomed to wander the skies for an eternity, searching for fragments it lost in a battle long past. Fragments? Lost souls. It travels as a single being, forged from millions. It was almost defeated long ago, much of its structure shattered to the stars. What's its weakness? It will turn even the most valorous soldier into an agent of its desires. As the Astronarch, you are resistant to its corruption. You are the key to its defeat. Very well, let's make haste. We can choose a new bonus for this run. Shields gained by heroes are increased by 30%, given that we've got the Paladin, that might be useful. Hierophant gained 2 potion slots. We're not even making full use of the 3. The star healing received by all heroes is increased by 20%. Now that one is very nice. Or elites and bosses have 10% less max health. No, we're going to go with the star. We're going to double down on our healing. Now, we should be able to hit all 3 elites, which is very important to us. The alleys. A home to cutpurses and villainy. The cursed creatures of the alleys can bleed you dry in more ways than one. The streets. Normally a safe place for the common folk, the people of the streets have now been corrupted and imbued with strong magical abilities. And the sewer. A filthy haven to only the most resilient creatures. This environment will test your fortitude and stifle your healing. Well, we're pretty much all about healing, so let's not go there. I say let's go down the streets until we have to switch up, hit the elite battle there, merchant, all the way down to this battle, and then move back to the streets. I think that is a reasonable route to go, and it appears that my alarm is going off. Shh, phone. It's okay. Right, town square. Let's see. We've got a guard oath. Well fed, gain 100 frail defense, gains 5 negate. Okay, so the town oath is, the guard oath is going to be a tricky fella to bring down, simply because our abilities aren't going to hit. But we've got so many abilities we apply, we'll break through that negate pretty quickly. Its active ability is Wallop, deal 100% attack damage, and disarm your target's active ability. Okay, that's not particularly nice. And we've got the Stubborn Fool. Apply a minor curse to all enemies every 3 seconds. Passive ability. A minor curse, a small reduction to attack, defense, or speed, or increased active ability costs. And then Dagger Toss. Deal 150% dagger damage to a random enemy. Active ability. Okay, well that's not too bad, and it's good that they're going to be splitting their damage initially. Now, we have a couple of items that I can give out, so let's go ahead and do that. It's not the right kind of stuff for our alchemist, really, but it's not going to be awful either. Now, I hope that we're going to see plenty of healing effects coming in from the alchemist and our bard there, and indeed, yeah, we are now massively out healing their damage output. It took us a while to build up to it, but that was actually good. And you can always look at the detailed information along the side here. So damage dealt. The bard did a tiny amount of damage, bleeding damage specifically. The paladin did some raw damage. I forget the yellow. I think that may be special ability, although that might be blue instead. Poison is always purple. Burning is orange. Let's see. I'm not actually sure. Oh, yellow is piercing. Actually, I think yellow may be piercing damage. I can't remember exactly. It's a shame that you don't get a bit of a pop on that. But the Berserker did the most damage, followed by the Alchemist close behind. Damage taken. The Berserker actually took more damage. The grey is just damage to your health, whereas the blue is damage to shield. And then damage healed. The Paladin added this much shielding to everyone, and actually somehow did a tiny little bit of healing as well. Oh, well, that was probably because the healing effect from the Alchemist. But that was actually quite nice. The Bard healed 1,428 damage. Very nice indeed. Now, we've got a couple of new items here. The kunai, the Slitherfang kunai. Your attacks deal additional damage equal to 50% of your defense to all enemies. That would be nice for the Paladin, but honestly, I think the Paladin's good as it is. Cobra Reach. Your attacks poison your target, dealing 5 damage every 3 seconds for the rest of combat. Now then, the thing here. You already poisoned, so I'm actually going to give you the Searing Edge. It's also going to increase your speed, which is something I would like to have happen. So now you're at least you're almost an attack every 2 seconds, but just a little bit faster than that. And I will give a poison effect to the Berserker. So the Berserker is going to be able to stack some really nice damages on our enemies. Okay, once again, they're going to be splitting their attacks, but all of our group are going to be attacking the front row of the enemy. The Wretch. Gain 500 shield. Attackers have a 20% chance to grant you a negate and apply a negate to themselves. And their ability is Sap Magic. Remove all your target's MP and deal piercing damage equal to 3 times the amount removed. That's nasty. But thankfully, I'm hopeful you're not going to really be able to do too much damage to our front lines, but we'll see. You're building up, and you might get it before the Paladin does. We took you out just in time, because you would have dealt almost a full 78 times 3 to the Paladin there. Mind you, the Paladin was almost a full health, so it really wouldn't have done that much damage. Now, the star there is an upgrade icon, much the same as we've got upgrades here. All items can be upgraded. So this is a single level upgrade, Fool's Crown. Attackers have a 50% chance to grant you 2 minor blessings. Actually, we'll double down on what the Alchemist is doing right now. I think that would be quite nice indeed. Quite nice indeed, yes. That'll actually be very good. Okay, let's go for an event hither on our way to... Oh, it was a combat event, much like Say the Spy. Sometimes events aren't actually events. They are combat. Now, I'm going to move the Berserker down because the Sniper Viper, what a fantastic name, gains hidden, gains 60 starting MP, and targets the back row first. Can't perform attacks, so it has no speed and no DPS. But when it has full MP, deal 400% attack damage and apply 5 frost to your target. Not great, but that should be... we should be able to absorb that with the Berserker, because the Berserker is going to be healing constantly. The Graboid. All enemies are poisoned for 20% attack damage at the start of combat. Deal 150% attack damage to your target and move them away from their adjacent allies. Active ability. We don't want that to happen to the Paladin, but let's just hope it doesn't, I guess. All right, let's see how this goes. Hopefully we can get a nice big hefty heal there, because we need you basically... Oh, right. Now you should attack the Paladin? I can't tell. No, you're still attacking the Berserker. You haven't changed targets despite the positioning of our units changing. Now, honestly, that's one of the nastiest enemy abilities that exist, because one of very few ways that we can actually affect the outcome of a battle is in how we position our characters. So any enemy who's got an ability to change that position is absolutely brutal in this game. Now, we've got the Arcane Stabilizer. The first time you're reduced below 35 max HP, gain a shield equal to 10% max HP and heal for the same amount. The Stun Barb. Your attacks have a 20% chance to stun your target for 0.5 seconds. Or the Whirlwind Axe. Your attacks increase your speed by 2%. Now, that one is particularly good. That one is much better than the Giant's Club. I want our Alchemist to be fast. I really want our Alchemist to be fast. Alright. The Card Shark. That's just glorious. Alright, okay. So attackers bleed for 15% attack damage over 10 seconds. And 2-card Monty. Deal 150% attack damage to your target and reduce their defense by 15. Hits a second enemy with the same effect. And the Fleet Footer. Gain Hidden. Gain 100 frail attack, which is kind of terrifying. Deal 300% attack damage and steal a random positive effect from your target. Active ability. Okay, well, that is actually going to probably pan out in your favor, ultimately. Okay, well, remove a negative effect from all heroes. I don't want you to all be poisoned. And I would like very much for my Paladin to be immune to damage for a moment, because that damage was all stacking up nastily. There we go. But we just lost 2 potions for that fight, and it wasn't even an elite fight. But, you know, sometimes you're going to make those choices, because that is still 3 morale. Now, the Oaken Knot is a very nice item, especially when it's leveled up. Right now, it just heals 2% max HP every 2 seconds. If you had 1,000 HP, which the Paladin actually does have, that would give you 20, or rather 10 HP a second, which is not bad. But I'm not sure that... I think this would be better than the defense cord. The other items there, the kind of jade-looking armor, that would poison anyone attacking. Now, that wouldn't have been a bad choice for the Paladin, but I think having the Paladin heal passively is more useful. The Bandit Baron. Very well. Enemy active abilities cost an additional 20% MP, and you gain 20% of the MP expended. Passive ability. It's a little bit less useful than our Esoteric Keystone, but close. But, well, actually more so, because he's going to be drawing for 4 people, not 1. And Shakedown is your active ability. Deal 25% attack damage to all enemies and remove a random positive effect from each. Steal 1 of the removed effects. If an enemy doesn't have an effect removed, they bleed for 100% attack damage over 10 seconds. We're going to be fine with this, because we're all going to have loads of positive effects. But that active ability cost increase is kind of nasty. We're starting to see now that speed is increasing from every time the Alchemist is attacking. And you'll notice that the yellow bar is shrinking with each time that happens. And you'll see that more prominently on the Paladin, because every time the Paladin gets hit, speed is increasing by 4%, which is very, very nice. Once again, we're going to save that one. Now, again, here we are, the Safety Slime. Apply a poison to attackers for 3 damage every second. Let's go to something we don't already have. It's always worthwhile having an array of items at the bottom. Not so much the orbs, but the orbs come in handy at merchants or when you get a new character. But the items, sometimes you'll encounter, for example, if someone was equipped with the Stun Barb, but it was a boss who you felt reasonably certain was going to get its immunity to stun very quickly, or an enemy who simply is immune to stun, there's no point in having that weapon, so you could swap it out with another weapon in your inventory. And as far as I'm aware, you can basically have just an infinite amount of inventory. There's no limit to that. Okay, we've got a couple of items here. The Ancient Codex. While at or below 50% max HP, your active ability costs 25 MP less. That's actually interesting. Primal Thirster. When your target is defeated, we've already seen that one. Bone Spike Armor. Attackers bleed for 20 damage over 10 seconds, plus 15 defense. That is actually kind of nice. That would potentially be really nice on our Paladin. The Enchanter's Chainmail. Gain immunity to burn. Watcher's Hatchet. Your attacks deal damage equal to 30% of your defense. Again, another one for our Paladin. Godbreaker. Your attacks deal an additional 20 piercing damage to your target and all adjacent enemies. Any enemies damaged by this item have a 20% chance to be stunned for 1 second. Now that is a very, very nice weapon. So much so, we are absolutely taking it. There we go. I might even flick these around. In fact, I will. Since our Alchemist gets faster. It would be useful on the Paladin, but I would rather build the Paladin purely so that the Paladin can absorb hits. Now then, we've got a little bit of money left over. Time for us to have a look at what we want to improve. The Witching Stick would allow us to steal 2 MP per strike. We could allow our Alchemist to speed up that little bit faster, which is kind of useful. This would apply Leech to our target and any adjacent enemies. That is also very nice. Godbreaker would apply, deals an additional 40% damage, and any enemies damaged by this item have a 40% chance to be stunned. That's getting very, very nice at this point. Or increase the amount of status effects that the Alchemist is immune to. We can increase the healing rate of the Oaken Knot up to 42 per second. 21 per second. The Fool's Crown all the way up to level 2. That's the last upgrade level. Attacks have a 50% chance to grant you 3 minor blessings. Or increase the Helm of the Mad King. Attacks to the Paladin would increase their attack by 8 and their speed by 8%. That becomes very crazy very quickly. Especially given that the Paladin's passive is that they burn their target and adjacent enemies for 40% of their attack damage. So as their attack gets higher and higher and higher, those burns get worse and worse and worse. But it doesn't really make the Paladin more survivable. Still, I think that's what we're going for. And we're just going to be shy of the level we need to get another ability. So I'm going to sell 2 things so that I can upgrade the Whirlwind Axe. I would really like to get to the point that the Alchemist can attack very, very frequently. There we are. We can see what it would be like if we hover over it. Again, it would go up to 15 plus attack, but each attack would increase speed by 6%, which would be marvelous. And this would get to the point where it's upgrading attack by 12 and speed by 12% for each attack against the Paladin. It's going to get quite crazy quite quickly, which I'm all for. All right, time for us to go down into the sewers, and then we're going to fight an elite battle in the sewers. That's not going to be fun. Oh dear. You look terrifying. The Chosen One. The Mutant Dweller. Freak of Nature. When below 30% max HP, heals 5% of max HP per second. Okay, that's not some sort of timed thing. It's just if you're below 30%, gain 52 health every second. Wild Lunge. Deal 150% attack damage to your target and apply Ruin. Gain 30 MP. Change your target to another random enemy and active. That is the active ability. Now, Ruin healing effects received are 60% less for 10 seconds. So it has got a timer, but realistically, you could probably pull that off quite frequently. The Toad Tribal Man. Trance. Deal 50% additional damage to enemies without any adjacent allies. In this case, we're fine. Special Sputum. Heal the weakest ally for 20% of their max HP and remove a random negative effect. Increase the heal value equal to your missing HP. There's 2 of them. That's actually going to be nasty. Alright. Well, we should hopefully battle our way through the mutant quickly, but I'm a little bit concerned about the early stage until we've gained a little bit more healing ability there. I'm worried for our Paladin friend. Oh, thank goodness. Right, we've taken you down. This should now be a fairly easy fight, but that came close. I've got Enchanted Chainmail, Stun Barb, the Mana Spring Amulet. Gain 20% more MP per second. We'll grab it. That's the best of the lot there, I feel. But now on to the Elite Battle. Fingers crossed, everyone. We're fighting against the Mother Rat. Spawn. Every 6 seconds, summon a Stink Rat and redirect attackers to it. Wow, you literally spawn a child and then force everyone else to attack the child rather than you. My lord, Parenting 2021. Consume. Deal piercing damage to your target equal to your target's HP. Yikes. So without a shield, that target dies. It's that simple. Alright, let's take you down as fast as we can, please. Get all of the burns and the poisons and the leech lives and such as quickly as you can, because they are building up to that fast. Paladin, we're going to need your ability, and chomp. No, we didn't get that ability in time. Much sadness. We lost one morale there, but we did get a Dwarven Cocktail and an ability orb. And we got another Whirlwind Axe, and actually another Oaken Knot as well. Ooh, we'll take the Whirlwind Axe, though. Now, what is your active ability? Deal 100% attack damage to all enemies and duplicate up to 3 random poison effects. What would this do? Duplicate up to 6 random poison effects. That is potentially good. We'll have a lot of poison on these enemies, so... But I think I'm going to hold on to that orb for the time being. Let's go and check out the next event. Orbs sell for a lot of money at a shop, if you need to. The Collector. The heroes are approached by a small, well-dressed aristocrat who just happens to be in the sewers for some reason. He's also carrying a sizable gold pouch on his waist. Jolly man. Sorry to bother you, but I must compliment your Mana Spring Amulet. I will pay a fair sum. I simply must have it for my collection. 100 gold? Or I could just intimidate you and get more money and just not lose anything. But no, I'll agree to that. A deal! Oh, what a glorious day it is, indeed. That gold will go towards upgrading something. Okay, another normal battle. We'll go with the sewers for now. I'm starting to regret that decision. Crocolisk. Attackers have a 25% chance to be stunned for 1 second. Ouch. Chomp. Deal 200% attack damage to your target and apply Ruin. Then we've got the Mutant Toad. A sickly aroma. All enemies lose 3 speed every 3 seconds, passive ability, and deal 150% attack damage to your target and any adjacent enemies. You know what? For this fight, we're going to move down here. And the reason why I'm doing that is the Crocolisk will go for the Paladin, the Mutant Toad will go for the Berserker. Splitting damage is almost never a bad idea, as long as you've got characters that can actually weather the assault. But it's a lot better to have a couple of characters taking a hit rather than 2 characters just being overwhelmed. Sadly, that battle was not going to run well for us. Yeah, that was a bit of a sadness. Oh no, we missed out on a symbiote, one of the best artifacts in my opinion. Reduce the cost of your active ability by 3 each time it's used. Each time. We could have got the mana cost of your heal down very low so that you could have been using it constantly, but oh well. That is the way things go sometimes. Let's get everyone back up top. Let's go to the shop, sure. We've got enough gold to make a purchase. We've also got the Deathbringer there. Your attacks have a 5% chance to deal an additional 666% piercing damage. Witch Stick, the Forgotten Idol. Your active ability deals 75% piercing damage. No, I think we're good with this. Yeah, we're gonna go with the Whirlwind Axe. I would very much like it so that your attack speed increases that little bit faster, especially given that your attacks will grant a blessing to 3 random heroes. The faster we can get those out. Those blessings mount, by the way. There are only 3 types of blessings, so it'll only ever show you 1 icon for that specific type of blessing, but it'll just be magnifying the effect. So it's very, very much worth it. I could drop, if I were to sell these, they're worth 100, but I think I'll hold on to it. In fact, I'm going to hold on to all of these items because we don't know who we're going to meet
for the next act. If we get there, we might die to the boss. Exotic merchant. The heroes are approached by a merchant wearing a harness with a table attached. Adventurers, step inside my office. I shall sell a variety of powerful elixirs, not available anywhere else in this realm. We can sample it and all heroes gain a random lesser effect permanently. Or take the virility elixir. All heroes gain 50% max HP and 5 defense permanently. Or the wisdom. All heroes reduce the cost of their active ability by 5 magic permanently. Or strength. All heroes gain 8 attack. I think the wisdom elixir. Really tempted by the idea of the wisdom elixir. Yes, please. There we go. Very nice. A wonderful choice. Now, it's important to understand that there are some side effects. They may include the growth of webbing between the fingers and the toes. I personally see them as added benefits, but the authorities say otherwise. It would have been great if you told us that before we drank it, but I too agree that it sounds like more of a boon than a curse. Right, the Gravedigger. Heal for 1% max HP every 2 seconds, increasing the effect by 1% each time. Getting hit by an attack has a 20% chance to reset this effect. That is good to know. The enemy who has dealt the most damage takes 200% attack damage and is stunned for 5 seconds. That is a little bit dangerous, so it's probably going to be the Berserker. The Berserker better have a shield by the time that happens, otherwise he's going to die. I think he avoided the worst of it. Yeah, the shield just procced in time. It looks like we're going to have the shield each time. That was very lucky. Very lucky. Got another ability up there. Wow, okay. Fortifying Brew and Potion. All heroes gain 250 shield and 25 defense. We could get an upgraded Royal Morningstar. Your attacks have a 40% chance to stun your targets for 2 seconds. But you lose 20% of your speed. It's not a great deal. It's not a great deal at all, actually. You know what? I think we're going to swap that out. I would like the Berserker to start getting more speed. What potion have we got? 250 shield and 25 defense. That's actually not bad. Especially considering we're about to meet a boss. The heroes discovered an obviously trapped treasure chest. We can open it, gain 60 gold, and a random hero has 50% less max HP in the boss fight. No. Disarm. 75% chance to gain 60 gold without penalty. 25% chance to gain 20 gold with penalty. Or destroy. We're just going to destroy. We're fighting the boss next. Always be map aware, peeps. Otherwise, I would have taken the risk, but not for the boss fight. The heroes destroy the chest from a safe distance and spend the time to locate what coins they can. Okay. We are fighting the Executioner. Your attack strikes twice, dealing an additional 100% attack damage, split amongst any enemies adjacent to your target. And Judge. Apply Doom to the enemy with the least HP. Doom, after 6 seconds, take damage equal to 80% of your max HP, and reduced by defense and shields. Okay. That actually isn't too bad. Begin the battle. Now, both the Berserker and the Alchemist are going to be getting faster as this battle continues. We are stacking up the positives, though. If you have a look at some of these. Defense increased by 21. Healing 240 HP every 2 seconds. Yeah, getting the Alchemist up to be crazy fast is really benefiting us. Really benefiting us. That is an amazing amount of ability orbs that we now control. Alright, we've got the Mystical Fruit upgraded. Attacks and active ability damage that you take has a 24% chance to be prevented. So basically 1/4 chance that we won't take whatever that thing was. We've got Pharaoh's Mark. For every 25 gold you have, apply a minor curse to a random enemy at the start of the combat. So basically, if you have this, save all your money and just make enemies really suffer. And then Haldanir's Cursed Blade. You heal for 50% of your attack and active ability damage. No active ability damage on the Paladin, so not as useful there. But I wondered if I don't believe that something that says you heal for your attack damage cares about secondary effects, so the burns aren't going to help. I think the only person this would work for is the Berserker, but it could potentially make the Berserker bonkers dangerous. So we're going to go for it. But tragically,
We have about run out of time, or rather we've run well over time already with this video. So I really do hope that this first taste has helped to shine a light on what I consider to be an absolute gem of a game. And if you like what you've seen so far, then do be sure to check out the video description down below to find a link on where you can pick this up for yourself. But that is going to be it from me and from our adventurers. I will continue on my way and hopefully defeat the big bad at the end of the game. But if you want to see a little bit more of this, then do let me know down below in the comment section, and we shall see what comes up in the future. But once again, that is it from me. I really do hope you've enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next. But until then, and as always, do take care.